That was BS. I think Murphy clear as day won that fight. That's just how it is. I don't got no words. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. What's going on, guys? UFC flyweight Ode Osbourne, the Jamaican sensation here, and we are going to unpack the UFC London card, Evloev versus Murphy. There's a lot to unpack on this card, so we're gonna go through this fight by fight because definitely a fun card that I would love to give you guys my input on. And I also want to hear comments, how you guys thought the card was. All right, so let's go on to the first fight of the evening, which is Curtis Campbell versus Danny Silva. First of all, this was an incredible fight, man. Obviously, Curtis Campbell being 23, coming in with the London crowd, the hype was on him. And he delivered in the first round. That first round was such a back and forth. I probably would give the first round to Curtis Campbell because he did take Danny Silva down, but it was a very close first round. It could have gone either way. But man, starting that second round, Silva came through with some bangers. And this is what I'm talking about. Cub Swanson is training some killers right now. There's a guy, his name is Lerone. I don't know how to say his full name. I've only seen him fight once at the Apex, and he was a monster. Cub Swanson is building an amazing team of fighters. It seems like all the guys that are coming out of Cub Swanson's gym are killers, and Danny Silva proved that. So that second round, when that second round started, first round was close, like I said, but when that second round started, he came in heavy hands, man, heavy hands, and it showed that he belonged because he really put the beating on Curtis Campbell in that second round, and that was an amazing fight, man. What I want to know is what's next for someone like a Danny Silva, because man, this guy has got hands. I would love to see him fight maybe like a Patricio Pitbull. That fight would be a banger. Tell me that it's not a fight y'all would want to see. Danny Silva versus Patricio Pitbull is the next fight to make, in my opinion. But I'm no matchmaker. We'll see. Let's move on. So the next fight, we have Roman Dolidze versus Christian Duncan. So this fight was interesting because it almost seemed like Roman couldn't really get going. In the first round, he had some success with getting close, getting clinched, and you can tell he tried to get Chris Duncan to the ground. There was a couple times where Roman sat back for like a knee bar. He's very good at those. Roman actually has nice submissions. So there's a couple times he sat back for a knee bar. It wasn't really there. It was almost like he was, I call it throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, because he would just roll underneath for the knee bar and Chris Duncan would just limp his leg out, But on the feet, Chris Duncan was just picking Roman apart round by round. I don't even think the fight was close by the third round. The first round was a little bit close. Roman had good pressure, but for the most part, it was just Chris Duncan picking Roman apart, using that long jab, using those long teeps, using his feints, being moving in, moving out. And Roman just couldn't really get started. It really didn't feel like Roman was all the way in there because of the way he was, pulling for those knee bars that wasn't even there, in my opinion. So yeah, it seemed like Roman was trying to get started and couldn't really get started because Duncan was doing so much feints and popping him left, right. Either way, the fight was a good fight. It was a good scrap. Who do you want to see Christian Duncan fight next? Because I would love to see Christian Duncan versus Paulo Costa. I think that would be a fun fight. But that's probably up to Paulo Costa. I don't remember the last time Paulo Costa fought, but it's been a minute since Paulo Costa fought. The one thing I got to say about Paulo Costa, I love Paulo Costa's fight style. I love his entertainment value that he brings. The only thing that I have to say about Paulo Costa is that he does not fight enough. I would love to see him in the octagon more. All right, let's move on. We have Iwo Baranowski versus Austin Lane, and this fight didn't last long. It was a 28-second barn burner. Austin Lane came in there. It seemed like he was a little bit hesitant, and Iwo played on his hesitation. Iwo came in. Austin Lane threw a punch. Iwo kind of slipped around the punch. It was a pretty sick combo. He slipped around the punch and I think he went left, right, or left, right. Either way, he finished it with an overhand left that caught Austin Lane on the chin, sat him down, and then Iwo came and finished it off with some heavy strikes, and he now moves to 8-0. And there's not much of a breakdown or there's not much to talk about with this fight because that's all that happened. It was 28 seconds long. So he now moves on to 8-0. I want to see Iwo Baranowski versus Dustin Jacoby because it looks like light heavyweight division is up for grabs right now. You know what I'm saying? With Pereira moving up to heavyweight, the light heavyweight division is up for grabs. So I would love to see Iwo versus Dustin Jacoby. That would be a fun fight to watch because yet again, the heavyweight division's up for grabs. You have Yuri Prochazka and Carlos Ulberg. That's the next fight for the heavyweight strap. And then you got Magomed Ankalaev just chilling there. You got Jan Blachowicz. We got Jamal Hill. We got Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker, and then Dustin Jacoby at 14th. So yes, let's make that fight happen. All right, moving on. Michael Venom Page versus Sam Patterson. That was the next fight of the night. That fight was fun to watch. You know, Michael Venom Page does what Michael Venom Page does. He sat right in front of him, feints, threw his jabs, threw his 1-2s, and it felt like Sam Patterson was just reacting every time he wanted to do something. MVP would he would feint or he would strike. Every time Sam Patterson would think about throwing any kind of a combo, Michael Venom Page was just in his face, feinting, throwing his 1-2s, using his long limbs. Man, I would hate fighting somebody like MVP because he's so unorthodox. You never know what he's gonna throw. He stands far away, and it's so deceiving because he stands at a distance, but at the same time, he's so long that he can lunge in and throw those nasty 1-2 combos at you anytime he wants. So it felt like Sam Patterson was just a little bit gun shy. He was biting on everything. Venom Page was just he was feinting and Patterson kept biting, and so he didn't really get a chance to get it going. Third round, Sam Patterson had some success because he knew he was down 2 rounds, so he really had to try to turn it on, but it just wasn't enough, and the fight went to MVP. He now moves to 25-3, and in front of his London crowd, his walkout was amazing. He walked out to Michael Jackson, and what a spectator, man. He puts on great performances anytime he fights. This fight was incredible to watch. Yo, undefeated Luke Riley, a Scouser versus Michael Aswell. That was a fire fight, yo. What a fight. This fight was so much fun to watch because you got to see two sides of Luke Riley. You know, you got to see how he performed when he's being pressured, because in round 1, Michael Aswell pressured him. Heavy strikes, hitting the body, hitting the head, throwing leg kicks, throwing head kicks, throwing body kicks, and really put it on Luke Riley. But Luke Riley was always in the fight. When I say he put it on Luke Riley, I didn't mean he was landing big strikes. He wasn't landing. It's not that Michael Aswell was landing big strikes. He was just putting the pressure on him. What I noticed that Luke Riley did very well was His defense. Every time Michael Aswell was throwing combinations, Riley was so calm and his defense was on point. And every time he shelled up, he would let a hook rip out of the pockets. That was one of the biggest things I noticed that Luke Riley did very well, man. Every time he would shell and defend, he would rip. And that was a veteran technique. You can tell, even though he's only had 2 fights in the UFC, he fights like a veteran. He fights like he's been in there for a long time. And man, this dude is about to be a problem for the division. He really is. I don't even know who's gonna be standing in this man's way, because the way that he fought tonight, it was spectacular. He looked lights out, amazing, absolutely amazing, man. And there's honestly big things to come for Luke Riley, because I don't know who else to who do you guys see him fighting next in the featherweight division? Because honestly, after that performance, I could say, yo, you know what? He could fight Volk right now and give Volk a run for his money. I ain't even gonna lie. After a fight like that, let's set it up. Obviously, Volk's got his hands full with Movsar Evloev. Speaking of Movsar, let's move on to the main event of the evening. Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. Yo, what? This fight was crazy because I personally thought Lerone Murphy won this fight. Let me go through the fight and then I'll explain to you my logic and reasoning why I thought Lerone Murphy won this fight. The reason I thought Lerone Murphy won this fight was because first round, Lerone came out, putting hands on him. He was throwing hard body kicks, using his jabs really well, using his leg kicks really well. It felt like Evloev just wasn't able to get going. So Murphy picked off Evloev all the way through round 1. Round 2, same thing happened. Evloev wasn't able to use his takedowns the way that Murphy was feinting, putting his jabs out there, using his knees. It really kept Movsar at a distance. Usually, Movsar is able to go in and shoot probably 2, 3, 4 times in a round. Not this time, because of how Murphy was feinting with those knees. He was feinting with his body. He was feinting the jabs. He was throwing hard body shots, hard leg kicks. His movements looked incredible, man. Round 1 and round 2, I thought was clear as day. Murphy. All right, moving on. Round 3. So here is why I thought Lerone Murphy won this fight. Round 3 happened, and Lerone Murphy in round 3 did the same thing. Feints, using those knees, using those jabs, using those leg kicks, using those body kicks. Again, Evloev wasn't able to get started on the takedowns, and it wasn't until the very end of the round. I'll say there was a minute left. Don't quote me. I'm going to say maybe a minute to a minute and 30 seconds left. I'm going to say a minute. Murphy landed on his back, and Evloev stole the round and started landing strikes. Now, even though Evloev landed a bunch of strikes while Murphy was on his back, that could have given Murphy the round. Yes. Let's backtrack. Let's rewind. Before that happened, before any of that happened, Murphy got groin struck. He got kicked in the groin 2 times, so the referee took a point away, right? So with that being said, with that fight, with that 3rd round being so close and a point was taken away, easily that round would have gone to Murphy, because if that round was close and you take a point, it went to Murphy. It went to Murphy. That round should have gone to Lerone Murphy, because that fight was so close leading up to that initial takedown, right? So when Lerone Murphy landed on his back and Evloev started, ground and pounding him, that wasn't enough, in my opinion, to say, oh, that was a 10-8 round, because that only happened at the end of the round. With that being said, because that 1 point was taken, that round should have gone to Murphy. Clear as day. So now it's 3-0 going into the fourth round, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, yo, clear as day, Evloev needs a finish because it's clearly down. He's down 3 rounds to none. So round 2 happens. Evloev finally got some comfortability, shoot some takedowns in there, took Murphy down. Murphy did a great job though. He got back up, stood in the pocket with him. I think Evloev landed a nasty overhand right, cut him right above his eye. Murphy started bleeding. That round was close. I'll give the round to Evloev only because he landed that overhand right and he landed a few takedowns in there. Round 5, also really close. Evloev landed a little bit more because he got the takedown in there and because he had the pressure. He was backing Lerone Murphy up against the cage, had the pressure on him. But all in all, that fight was unanimously Lerone Murphy's fight. Again, round 1 wasn't close. Round 2 wasn't close. Round 3 was close, but he got the point. Evloev got the point taken away in round 3. So round 3 should go to Murphy. I don't know what the hell is going on. I think it was a majority decision. They eventually scored the fight for Evloev, which for me was insane, man. I don't got no words. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I would like you guys to go back and watch that fight and tell me what you think. And you know what? To be fair, I'm also going to go back and watch the fights and tell you guys how I feel about that. Because when you're watching it live, sometimes you miss key details when the emotions are involved. So I'm going to go back and watch it and I'll give you guys an honest feedback of where I stand, because right now, that was BS. I think Murphy clear as day won that fight. That's just how it is. Now, moving on, we are now about to see Evloev versus Alexander Volkanovski. That's going to be a great fight. I don't know when they're going to set that fight to happen, but all I know is I want to see it. I would have much rather see Lerone Murphy versus Alexander Volkanovski, which we all know, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Moving on, we are now about to witness Alexander Volkanovski versus Movsar Evloev. So, hope you guys tune into my next breakdown. If you guys like these breakdowns, subscribe to the page, follow all Ode Osborne social media platforms, and show your boy some love. It's been a pleasure to break this card down with you guys, and thanks for tuning in to the post-fight recap. UFC Flyweight, Ode Osborne here, out.